What's up, San Diego and everybody out there? We started a new podcast. I'm Braden Surprenant alongside Matt Perez here in San Diego. Joining us from Arizona is Will Galvez, and we are Why Start a Podcast? Why start a podcast? Well, a lot of us wanted to get an opportunity to talk some ball. Some of us wanted to get an opportunity to get back into podcasting and radio hosting, if you will, and some of us on an extra platform to work on different things. And so we have started a podcast. It's called Why Start a Podcast? We are Gaslamp's finest media. You can check out all of our stuff on all our new social media accounts at Gaslamp, Gaslamp's finest on Twitter and Instagram. We've got a TikTok now, and any ones that I'm missing. I think those are the main ones that I have. We also have a website, gaslampsfinestmedia.com. You can check out all of our stuff. We'll have blogs, different podcasts, but we're going to try to do this once a week, every Tuesday around 6 o'clock. A little bit late starting today just because we had to get all the equipment in. Do want to give a huge shout out to Todd Durkin and his Impact podcast for letting us use his studio while he is away. We're going to be allowed to use his studio each and every Tuesday, so a big shout out to the Impact podcast. We're going to talk more about that later on to kind of plug what he's been up to and what he's been working on. But a big thanks to Todd Durkin to have us be able to use his studio here in the San Diego area. How's everybody doing? Matt? Will?
Good. Fired up for this. Ready to talk some ball, talk some lifestyle, and have a good time on here.
Will, what's going on there?
I want to give a huge shout out to the Fiesta Landings apartment complex and my home improvement bedroom studio. So not as fancy as Todd's, but no, Braden, I'm excited, man. Matt, this is going to be a good time. I think it's well overdue, and there's never a shortage of anything to talk about, especially now with how crazy the internet is and Twitter. I refuse to call it X. There's a lot going on. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and, we're at a prime time of the year, and, baseball's starting up soon, and, we're still have the Super Bowl coming up, and we'll get into everything, but no, I'm excited. This is going to be a good time.
And it is going to be fun to discuss a lot of different things. So I want to get kind of started with the weekend and what we had, coming up on last weekend. It was kind of funny. Like, I finally get to Arizona to visit Will, and Will's actually back here in San Diego. It was almost to a point where I felt like we were just jumping on each other's plane after Will landed and I took off to go to Arizona. I was out in Arizona for a wedding. Big congratulations to Dylan Smith and Ashlyn Smith, previous Ashlyn York, to the happy couple that is married in Apache Junction. Again, for some reason, my friends like to get married in obscure locations. Can't tell you why. Apache Junction seems to be one of those locations, as well as Decatur, Texas, for another friend's wedding. But I digress from that. It was a good time. I was a part of the wedding, so I had to do a lot of wedding things, like get there at 10 in the morning for a 3:30 wedding. I don't know what that was necessary for. How many of you guys have you been part of a wedding, Will? Have you been part of a wedding party?
No, I have not. I feel like a loser. I feel like a lot of my friends are just kind of holding out and not getting married.
They haven't been okay. So a lot of my college friends have gotten married already. I think it's
mine are still, they're still going single. I've been to a couple weddings, but no, that's really early. Do you get to pregame that, or like what the hell do you do?
Usually you do like
4 hours.
I've been fortunate enough to now be a part of 2 different weddings, both of my college friends. And one of them that was in Decatur, Texas, was one where we could pregame before they had like a groom suite. The groom suite was kind of cool.
Okay.
At this one in Apache Junction, like you walk in, I posted on my Instagram. I have a video of it. I guess I could show it on the podcast if I can pull it up. But anyway, you walk in and it was like 2 different rooms for the groom suite. You walk in, like you look to the right, and there's a bar. They got like a little like makeshift bar with a fridge, microwave on top. And then they had like a TV on the wall that we watched a lot of college basketball on, starting at 10 in the morning. They had a poker table. You could play poker if you want.
You can gamble in Arizona as well.
That's right. I did do a couple parlays when I was out there.
Good.
They had 2 like changing rooms, obviously, to get ready, like put your nice clothes on. A big table you can have we ended up having lunch at that table.
Okay.
So that was like one room. Then you walk through a door, And inside the second room was like, it was like a billiard room, dude. They had like a pool table, and they had another giant TV, had another bar, right? Couple of like bar tables, like some high tops. And it was kind of a cool hangout spot. You walk in, but then, it had a little balcony that overlooked, the wedding venue in particular where the wedding was going to be. I also had a picture of that on my Instagram. And then like the super, I think it's the Superstition Mountains. It's called the Superstition Manor. But like one of the main rules is like you couldn't drink before the bars open. So
What?
I don't understand. I didn't get it. Like that was like, well, you can't, like we're a bar here, so like you can't bring in your own alcohol. Like you're gonna have to pay for it like at a certain time when we open up our bar. And I was like, that's super lame because we heard that at the rehearsal. And so like the next day, it was me and Dylan's 2 high school buddies. Like, dude, like let's just go get some stuff. I already had a case of Coors Light and Michelob's in my fridge at my Airbnb, just to have some stuff to drink.
Guy was locked and loaded.
I was locked. I was ready to go. And I was like, look, man, I got 2 cases in there. I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to finish it all. Like, why don't we just bring those over, dude? And Dylan was just totally against it. Like, he didn't want to upset anybody. He didn't want to piss anybody off. And he just didn't let us drink before the thing. I was like, all right. So I sat there from 10 to like 1, because at 1 o'clock we're supposed to take pictures. 1 o'clock pictures didn't start till 2:30.
Well, he didn't need you hammered taking pictures.
So you sat there for
understand.
4 hours,
dude, just
doing...
watching like random college basketball games, and
throwing down bets.
Dude, I didn't throw out any bets though. I was trying to get the NFL ones in because I knew I was flying the next day. Dude, I don't trust betting on college basketball in general.
The best.
No, it's just
It's the best.
I can't do
Why?
that.
What can't you trust about it? It's the best.
I don't trust the college basketball. Yeah,
it's volatile. It's perfect.
You're betting on 18 to 20 something year old. I can do it for football because I know like there's enough disparity between like 2 teams. Like you can be like, all right, they're gonna cover this or like
right.
That. But college basketball, it's like you can't do spreads. You got to do money lines and like all the basketball. Spreads. The basketball is my wheelhouse. The Big 12, dude. And I don't trust the Big 12 because every Big 12 game, it seemed like, or at least the stat was going into the game on Saturday, was 40% of Big 12 games have been decided by 5 points or less. You have no idea. Kansas went down to UCF and got their ass kicked by the UCF Knights, and you're at Kansas. It's like you don't know what you're going to get in the Big 12, so it's hard.
And then they lost to Iowa State.
Yes, they lost to Iowa State. I mean, but like TCU beats 2 top 10 teams in the country in Houston and Oklahoma in the same week. Then the next week lose to Cincinnati on the road and Iowa State at home. And then they go back the next week, beat Oklahoma State in a dogfight, which shouldn't have been a dogfight, and then beat Baylor in triple overtime, which I'm going to get to that in a second. And then again, beat Texas Tech tonight. You have no idea what's going to happen in the Big 12, which makes it so entertaining to watch. So I didn't bet on college basketball. So I was trying to find different things to do. I think they ended up, we made like a run for stuff, dude. And so the 2 guys I was with, Dylan and Brady, the best man, and then my buddy's other high school friend, Dylan, a different Dylan. We had Brady and Braden as part of the wedding party, a Dylan that was getting married, and then another Dylan, which made everything confusing.
Sounds like it's well
all
organized.
that stuff. So Dylan Shambles, not the guy that got married, and Brady, I don't remember his last name, the best man. We did a Circle K run because I needed a coffee, dude. I was like, I had to get here super early. They didn't have breakfast or anything for us, which is fine, whatever.
They didn't have booze.
They had booze. He ordered 2 bottles of champagne to like start the whatever. So I was like, but that was like a bottle of champagne's like 4 glasses, and there was like 6 of us. So like we knocked those out.
There's 6 grown men that are there.
Just knocked out 2. And we didn't use the champagne glasses. We used like solo cups. We used like solo cups and filled to the brim. So I was like, I need a coffee. I might as well get some other stuff. Dylan bought like a 12-pack of Twisted Teas to bring him in. I was like, oh yeah, dude, Twisted Teas. They didn't bring him out of the car, dude. He just kept running to his car and drinking in his car instead of just bringing a 12-pack in and throwing it in the fridge where nobody would notice.
And it was hot out. So it was
nice.
It wasn't even staying cold.
It wasn't nice. Yeah, well,
but you want a cold drink. Why would you? I'm not.
Dude, I mean, the wedding. The only thing I was thinking is like I didn't want to like sneak it in and then burn Dylan, who was paying for. He's basically paying his way for his own wedding, because the wife's dad was kind of a dick about it. Like didn't want to pay for it. So like,
did he enforce the no drinking rule as well?
I've never met. So she had her actual dad like wasn't like part of her life too much.
Oh wow, we're getting in the weeds here with this,
right? So, but he
she had a troubled childhood.
But so like she has like her real dad, and then her dad that raised her, which is her sister's dad.
Okay.
They have the same mom, sister's dad, and then like her mom's new husband. So like she did 3 like
there's a lot of moving parts.
She did 3 like father-daughter dances as part of like the wedding. Which is wild. Like I was just like, okay.
There was a first, second, and third act.
Right, and the first act was like the dad that like wasn't really part of her life, who didn't pay for like the wedding, but like wanted to like do the dance, and they wanted to do and wanted to like bring her to the altar. I was talking about that with like my dad. My dad's like, whoa, man, you can't like not pay for the wedding and then expect to get all the dad stuff after you weren't part of like the. Right. It was weird, dude. Right. And like,
you didn't earn it.
I watched the first dance. And dude, those are like, I don't want to be like disrespectful, but it's like, okay, she's dancing with her dad. Like Dylan's gonna dance with his mom. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same shit every time, right? So I was like, I'm gonna watch like her family and see what their reaction was. Nobody watched them. The first one, nobody watched.
It's brutal.
It was brutal.
What were they doing?
There was like
eating
some serious animosity there. There was some animosity there. For sure. So then she dances with her dad. Then she dances with the dad that raised her, which is a little bit like more okay, right? And then she danced with like the third dad, which was like over like the last couple of years, and he was in the country. He's in the Arizona Country Music Hall of Fame. I didn't know it was a thing. He was kind of funny though. I liked him. We had some beer. I had some beers with him like the night before.
Probably shooting whiskey.
Right, and I was like, so that was the reception part, whatever. That was interesting. But anyway, I sat around all day. It's like a hurry up and wait thing, just like this industry. It's a hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. We finally take the pictures, whatever. And like TCU's like late in the. I know it's late in the second half by the time they start like the wedding process, and the wedding planner's like, no phones in your pockets, nothing in your pockets. I can see it in your pockets. It looks bad. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So I leave my phone.
You can see your bulge.
I leave my phone upstairs. In the groom's suite. I have my watch, and like you're like supposed to be like right over left, right? And I just keep kind of peeking at my watch. No updates. My watch is still syncing with my phone, so it's not like that's an issue. No updates, and I'm like sweating out. I'm like, dude, we're up. We're up like late in this game. We should be able to get this. So, wedding finishes. It's the cocktail hour. We're taking pictures. I'm still like trying to check. And I told my buddy Nick, who was in the wedding, I was like, look, dude, you're gonna have to check. Like, how are we doing? He's like, well, I don't know. I've got a notification yet. I'm like, pull it out. Like where are we at here? Let's go.
Dude, step up. Come on.
We're doing the pictures and everything. And dude, somebody told me this is an Arizona thing. And then I talked about it on another show, like on my show during the weekday. And like somebody from Arizona was like, it's absolutely not a thing. Have you ever heard of a beer mule or a booze mule?
No.
Dude, they had this donkey walking around with 2 like bags full of beer, awesome. Like coolers, like on the side, and he was just walking around. He's pull like a Diet Miller out of his satch, and he's popping. He just be walking around, dude, doing his thing. The beer mule. We had to take pictures with the beer mule as a wedding party, dude. Like, and mules are obviously stubborn. That's where the stubborn mule comes from. So the mule keeper or guy that like owns the mule was trying to get him like set. The photographer lady's like, oh, can we get the mule to like kind of angle this way? I'm like, dude, it's an animal with beers on the side. I was like, you kidding me? So let us take some pictures with some beer though. But that was my first beverage of the day. Was at 4:00 off of an ass. Off of an ass.
So
the beer mule.
There wasn't a saddle on the mule, like you couldn't ride
saddle.
it.
There was a saddle on the mule, and on either side of the saddle was like a crate with ice in it, basically, with a bunch of bottled beers in it on both sides. A variety of, Miller Lights, Coors Lights, Michelobs, Bud Lights. I mean, all of Budweisers. I mean, you name it. It was in the satchel on the side of the the mule that had flowers and beers on it. I've never seen that before in my life.
That's the most Arizona shit I've ever heard. What?
Dude, somebody said it wasn't an Arizona thing. I thought it was hilarious. I mean, I couldn't.
That sounds like something in the SEC.
I could see that. So anyway, so that was the first of the wedding part, right? Of the that was my first beverage of the night. It was like at 4:00. So we finished the pictures, and I go back up. I'm telling you right now, there's got to be like a minute left in the game. The game tipped off at 1. It's like 4:00. And I'm like, where's the game at? And then my buddy Nick pulls out on his phone, and it's like kind of buffering. I'm like, why are we doing this? It's literally upstairs right now in the groom suite. Let's just go up there and watch it. So I go up there and watch it, and we were actually in overtime at the time. And I'm like, all right. I get up there. Me, Nick, my buddy Chet, and his wife. We're upstairs watching the end of the TCU game. It's in first overtime. There's literally like a minute left. TCU's up 6. And I'm like, this is great. Like, finish this off, go back down, mingle amongst the crew.
Go grab a beer.
Go grab another beer from the mule. Yeah, get my
slap
ass.
the ass on the ass.
Give me a Diet Miller from the ass. And
ready to roll.
And we're cruising. I mean, like, we're winning. Like, this is gonna be the best. This is gonna be it's the energy boost I need. Big Frogs win at the new arena for Baylor. Shot from the moon, because I don't know where their camera placement is, but it's terrible. I mean, you were in the rafters watching that game. So TCU's up 6. You know, they missed the free throws. Baylor comes back, hits a 3. Like, they're up 3, miss free throws again, or they make 1, and Baylor kind of battles their way back, and then hit a 3 at the buzzer, like basically at the buzzer, to send it to double overtime. And I'm like, well, we can't watch up here anymore. We got to go back downstairs. So we go back downstairs, and, same thing, like kind of some phone issues, whatever, like trying to put it together. It's like checking the game. Like, we're going old school. We can't stream it because the internet sucks. We're like checking the game cast on the ESPN app.
Seen the ball go into the hoop.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, well, I guess he missed it.
Plays behind.
And it's
rolls like 5 plays in a row.
It's double OT. So, and TCU's kind of like giving up a lead. They're like, I think they get up like down 6 or something late, and they're like, okay, here we go. Now we have to go to the bride suite, because now now we're getting ready to enter the reception. So I'm in the bride suite watching, the TCU game get to the end of near the end of double overtime. And actually, no, on the way up to the bride suite, TCU, we had watched them get a shot clock violation, tied at 94 with 35 seconds left. Something like, there was like 40 seconds left in the game, and they get a shot clock violation. They didn't give it a shot off, so Baylor gets it back with 16 seconds left. We get up to the bride suite. They missed because one of my buddies, who was supposed to be at the wedding, that decided not to go because he couldn't get out of his pub shift over at pub in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, priorities.
Text third overtime. So I'm up there in the bride suite. I got the member of the wedding party, the bridesmaid that I'm paired with, like trying to come up with like some cute idea to like be introduced with. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like pick whatever you want. I'm a little busy right now with the TCU Baylor game. Not knowing
trying to watch this.
Not knowing that she was a Baylor grad.
Oh,
which just makes it's like, okay. It could have been a different. Actually, no. I think somebody else was a Baylor grad. Also had the same name. But anyway, I digress. So we're getting in line. DJ's talking to us like, "Oh, look, we're gonna do all this cool." Is this DJ voice? We're gonna do this. Like, it's gonna be cool. I'm like not paying attention. I was like glued to my phone. Triple overtime. TCU gets the lead by like 1 point. They go up like 103-102, and the music's cranking, and I'm on the stairs, about to go down. It felt like I felt like I was in the Notre Dame tunnel, like play like a champion today, getting ready to be introduced. Getting introduced, and I guess we've decided that we're gonna cheers and down my Coors Light like after we get introduced as the part of the wedding party. And I got my phone in my hand, I got my beer in the other hand. I'm trying not to nervously pound the beer that I need to pretend to chug when I get introduced. They introduce the two people in front. It's one person in front. Game goes to review with like 20 seconds left, and we're up 1. And then I go, I gotta pocket this, dude. I gotta pocket the phone. I can't go down there on my phone getting introduced to the wedding party, trying to like coordinate too many things. I'm like, I'm about to sweat it out. So I get through, cheers, whatever, just drink the beer. Okay, get to my table. Buddy Nick, again, sleeping at the wheel when it comes to the TCU game. Doesn't have his phone out ready to go. I go, what's going on? Right as the time as I put my phone away, TCU's up 1 with 1.4 seconds left. I get down to the table and I go, what, did we win? Is it over? It should have been over, right? 1.4, the game should be over. My buddy Nick goes, it's TCU up 1 with 1.4 seconds left. And I was like, yeah, no shit, dude. That's literally what the last play was. I said, pull out your phone and start streaming the game. I think it's over, but you're never too sure. And we just went through 2 overtimes with this game. Right as Dylan and Ashlyn get introduced to the reception, as soon as they get introduced, bam, game goes final. TCU wins 105-102. Wild, absolute wild start to the evening. I mean, that just cranked it out for the rest of the night. I mean, I was fired up at that point. Bring on the booze.
Donkeys.
Bring in the other mule. It was a good wedding overall.
Bring in the whole pack.
But here, dude, how about this? I don't mind. What's your take on this? I don't mind half of this. It was beer and wine were free, but you had to pay for a cocktail. I think that's fine. I think that's a good move for weddings, not only to save money, but to make sure people get absolutely shit-faced by drinking a bunch of cocktails that they like, oh, it's free. I'll just get another one. They leave it, and then they waste a bunch, and then they're getting hammered at the bar. So it was free beer and wine until 8 o'clock. And then from 8 o'clock to 10, you had to pay for anything. You had to pay for everything. So those free Miller Lights and Coors Lights turned into $8 Miller Lights and Coors Lights after 8 o'clock.
So if you had to pay after 8, did like the mule have like a Venmo like hanging around?
Dude, the mule left. Dude, there was another bar. The mule was just a delivery. The mule was just a delivery boy.
Transport him.
Right?
He was door dashing after that.
Exactly. Yeah, he was doing the door dashes to all the people in Apache Junction that were out there doing their thing.
Wait, so if you had to pay for drinks after 8, when did the drinking start? At 6? So you got 2 hours of free drinks essentially then? Or what was
the actual like wedding itself was like probably like 5 minutes. It took like it seemed like it lasted like 5 minutes. It was so quick. But I was in the middle of like going here, going there, going here, going there. I only got like 2 beers in me before the reception started. And then during the reception, it was like, you had to get up to go get, the drink at the bar. And I ended up getting like 2 more, but it's like, it's only light beer, right? So it's like, you can't,
it's like water.
It was like 4 light beers over a span of 4 hours. I mean, zero buzz whatsoever. And you're trying to catch up and there's a line and people are trying to, and by the time, I mean, I just didn't get a buzz the whole night just because it was too spaced out. But other than that, it was pretty fun. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it was a fun wedding. I do bring up the concept. I mean, there's a lot of people that were like, I can't believe you're on your phone at a wedding. Like, you're supposed to be like, and watching your favorite team play. I think it's fair to watch your favorite team play. I think if you're watching something else, I think it's ridiculous. Like, somebody that comments today on my show was like, I was part of a wedding party, and one of the groomsmen was late to the wedding because he was busy watching the Vikings play the Bears, but he's a Chargers fan. He has no rooting interest in either of those things. So for me, I feel like it's fair to watch your favorite team play, but I think if you're watching just a random sporting event, you're kind of the sports guy.
If you have action on the game, I think it's okay. I think you can get away with it.
Put action on a lot of games.
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, there should have been a wedding during football season. There should not be a wedding during football season or during March Madness.
I mean, I was watching a basketball game.
Yeah, but still, there's prime games on that are on Saturday. You got to do it. You got to be. You got to be.
When are you supposed to get married, then, Will?
I would say the best time, man, probably mid to late April. Anytime in May, June, July, and early August. I think that's the best.
In the summer weddings only. When everybody else wants to get married at venue, tickets are through the roof.
Yeah, I mean that's just how it goes. Or you could do it the first. This isn't a bad time, I guess. Late January. It's not. It's slower. There was only 2 games with the NFC and AFC title games, but no, like if there's like the fall. Okay, I guess that sounds selfish. Don't do it in the fall. Absolutely not. September through Saturday December. Weddings. No fall wedding or November, whenever it ends. I don't know when the seasons end. I mean, you guys have to agree. Like you would go if we all had to go, obviously, yeah, you're going to have to, nut up and go. But I would hate for it to be scheduled like in September. That would suck. It would suck in October and it would suck in November. Yeah, no, not in fall.
So out of my college friends, 4 have now gotten married. 3 of them have gotten married on a day of a significant TCU sporting event, and one of them planned his wedding around the TCU bye week. And that one friend that planned his wedding on a TCU bye week doesn't even like sports.
Well,
That guy he understood the assignment, dude. He gets it. Guy knows
That's
ball,
good.
even though he doesn't
good.
know ball.
Like,
And all the other ones. That's right. This guy helping out the ball club right there.
Absolutely.
As opposed to now, it's tough when like college baseball super regional. I mean, how are you supposed to know like that was going to be the day that TCU plays a home game college baseball super regional? That's kind of tough. That was one of my buddies'
I feel
weddings.
like you're just reaching there.
That's
trying to find things.
That's not on him. That's not on him. But I mean, we were watching it. I went to the game the day before. It was a TCU West Virginia football game in a season we sucked. So who cares? That's a wash. Super regional game against Indiana State to go to the College World Series. That's not plan. You can't plan that.
No.
And then the other one was the TCU Baylor game. Again, it's not really when you plan these weddings though. It's like it's planned so far in advance, that you can't really do that. You can't like plan ahead for that.
No fall and no middle of March weddings. That's it.
Okay.
You do it any other time of the year.
During the Masters weekend.
Okay, we have a lot of rules here. When are people supposed to get married?
May through
Any
March?
time of the
May through
year
August.
that's not September through November and the middle of March. That's fine.
Let me ask you this. This happened later at the wedding. I was not a part of this, but a lot of my college friends are big WWE fans. You know what happened? You know what was going on Saturday in the WWE?
That was like the Vince McMahon.
Well, no,
thing,
not
right?
well. That's a side. That's a
Yeah,
side
Vince
issue.
McMahon had himself a weekend.
That was
Yeah.
a side issue that they discussed that I kind of was like, okay, I understand. But do we know what happened this weekend at the WWE actually in a ring? It was a big pay-per-view event. Do either of you know?
I think I glossed over it. I don't know.
If I
Indulge
say
us
the
here.
Royal Rumble, do you even know what that is?
Yeah. I'm not
So
paying attention to
the
it.
Royal Rumble was going on. So we're now like last 2 hours of the wedding. So when you're supposed to be dancing and you're mingling, get the dessert out there, get some more cocktails flowing. There's about 6 of them watching the end of the Royal Rumble on their phone. Is that justified?
Well, I mean, the weddings are going on.
No,
People are
no,
loose.
you can do
No.
the four major in college. Other than that, no.
But I think it's important to talk about how diehard these roommates and buddies are about the WWE, right? I mean, they're
I think
treating
so.
that like it's their NBA.
It sounds like they're
finals
living and
their-
dying by wrestling. Like that's what
They're
it
into
sounds
it, dude. Like it's a soap opera. I tell you what. I remember coming back from. I used to do Monday night classes because like working for TCU's football team, like Mondays, there was no practice, so they could get like night classes in for some of the student athletes. So I had a Monday night class every year, and I'd come home in the fall, and like in Central Time, dude, like if I was going to a night class on the West Coast, I'd be missing Monday Night Football. But in the Central Time, like it's not even halftime by the time you're done with your class at like 8:00. I'd come home wanting to throw on Monday Night Football, and it'd be like Monday Night Raw, and I'd be like, "What is this?" And they were like living and dying on every storyline. Like the song would come, "Oh my God, it's Roman Reigns! Oh my God!" I'm like, "What is happening?" There'd be like 8
Roman
of them
Reigns
at my
is
house.
the man. He's a stud.
I couldn't believe it. I'd just be like, "What is going on?"
The night classes, that's really nostalgic. Taking the
Once a week?
7:30, 8 p.m. class, or a lab.
I think it was
Where-
6. I had a 6 p.m. Monday night class like every semester.
Yeah. I mean, you would do anything you could to just not have a Friday class. Like that was the ideal. Like you would overload Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even, and that way Friday you were completely off. I remember having like a lab on a Friday, and it was like the worst because it was at 2:00, and everyone like the entire campus is empty. You don't want to be there. I didn't show up half the time anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Well, we do want to talk about the NFL weekend too. I mean, you were here in America's finest city, Will. Aside from your weekend, what stood out to you at the AFC and NFC championship games? It was pretty good games there between Kansas City and Baltimore, and San Francisco and Detroit.
I mean, if we go chronologically, obviously the runaway Mahomes. I mean, that Mahomes is going back again with this, debacle of a team. Even up until Christmas, you're like, why would we even consider this team to go to the Super Bowl? And then you counter that with just a complete dud. I mean, just a complete, the bed with Lamar. And I think that really kind of took away. I mean, I'm really upset because I lost a significant amount of money because I was so confident in the Ravens, and that really hurt just seeing those first 2 drives, Mahomes just driving down the field and really sticking it to them. And I think you can really tell for these teams that go on runs, to the Super Bowl and eventually win it, they set the tone within the first 2-3 series of the game. And at that point, I was like, I don't think Baltimore's winning this game. Even with the home field advantage, the Terrell Suggs coming out. I mean, that was, if we just stay in this game, was there any bigger ones than that? I mean, we can make fun of Zay Flowers for the taunting rule and everything and being undisciplined, but no, I think it always revolves around the quarterbacks, and we have to deal with more Mahomes hoopla for the next 2 weeks, and Lamar has to, for the next 8-9 months, really dwell on a really bad performance. I mean, I think a lot of America was so confident in him, in taking this team. And I even think this was a better team than when he won his first MVP. It's presumed he's going to win the second one, in a couple weeks. But I don't know. I mean, were you surprised by the outcome?
I can't say I am. Anytime Patrick Mahomes is playing, I don't care who he's playing, I'm going to take him. Just because of his talent, his ability to make things happen. And it seems like he always just raises the level of who's ever around him, right? Doesn't matter if he's throwing to Tyreek Hill, or he's throwing to Rashee Rice and, a whole other cast of characters. They always seem to be playing their best when they're playing with 15, right? So I also agree, Will, it kind of came out in like the first series or so when the Chiefs let the Ravens take the ball and then they go 3 and out, and the Chiefs go right down the field and they score, and they look like the Chiefs that we've seen for the last 5 years or so. And then they answered back, and then as soon as it was like 14-7, it was like, all right, this game's probably over, and then you also look at how the Chiefs won in the second half, because they didn't score any points, right, in the second half. I mean, it was run game, ball control, and play, stand out, smash mouth, play against that Ravens offense, right? Whether it be hitting Lamar on that strip sack or that punch out on Flowers, that's kind of who the Chiefs have been this year, and that's the type of teams that have good success in the playoffs. It's a defense that can go on the road, and it's a run game that can go up against even the best, front 7 in the league, arguably, with the Ravens.
Finally got on Instagram, by the way. I don't know how he screwed that up, but it took me forever to try. I guess you have to put the
a false start going on.
Dude, I was sitting there going like, it's not working. And I know it's not working because I haven't seen on anything. And I was like, well, maybe I got to redo the stream thing again. So everybody that just tuned in on Instagram, thanks again for tuning in on Instagram. We're going to be doing this each and every Tuesday at about 6 o'clock, talking sports, talking live. You missed a great segment on donkeys handing out beers and wedding receptions and what?
I can't wait to see the pictures.
The picture of me and a fucking mule that's giving away beer. Yeah, that's
that's what we want.
That's gonna be great. That's gonna.
I wish you would have wrote it. That would have been.
I'm not riding a mule. I'm not riding a mule.
That would have been the funniest thing.
Braden, I think we found your first picture on Hinge.
Oh wow, me. I didn't take any solos with the beer mule.
Fine.
So for anybody that just again tuned in on Instagram, there was a mule, a donkey.
A literal ass.
An ass walking around with a saddle, and on either side of the saddle, 2 big crates of just light beer in bottles. Like I said before, some Diet Millers, some Coors Lights, some some Budweisers, Michelobs, you name it. It was on the side of a donkey, and
it's like a cart girl in golf.
Yeah, but it was a mule.
But make it hick.
Yeah, I apparently it's an Arizona
cool
thing. Everybody was wearing cowboy hats. I don't know. The groom wore a cowboy's hat. I don't know why the groomsman didn't get to wear a cowboy hat. I had to wear a bolo tie. I got a bolo tie. That
like
was
Phillip Rivers.
I channeled my inner Phillip Rivers with the bolo tie. I think I pulled it off.
Good for you.
But to get back to, I just wanted to kind of reset for everybody. I finally got it to work on Instagram, so that should not be a problem next week. Thanks again for everybody that's tuning on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I see a lot of you guys commenting on there as well. Yes, Keen, big TCU win today against Lubbock and the Red Raiders. Our boy Ron Davis talking about the Ravens and Lamar lost their composure. We're going to even show the comments here. Lions did the same, unfortunately, against two teams that have been there and won't do that. Bummer. Here's what I got to say about the games this weekend. I felt like the games this weekend were won by teams that have had experience playing in these games. More 100%. So than just talent. I mean, the Niners have been there. They've done that before. Enough of the players on the Niners have been in big games. They know how to win those games. For the Lions, again, as you pointed out, before the game started, you thought that this Lions-Niners game was going to be the NLCS between the Padres and the Phillies. That's exactly what it turned out to be. Lions punched them in the mouth, probably a little bit more than the Padres did against the Phillies. And then, the team that had experience playing in big-time series ended up taking control. I think that was a major factor. I think you could say that both quarterbacks didn't win their teams the game. I think both defenses won the game at the end of the day. Brock Purdy did what he needed to do to win, didn't turn the ball over. He got the benefit of the Ayuk insane play, and you knew it was lucky because they kept asking. They asked Ayuk about that play twice in the postgame, and he didn't say anything about it both times. He just talked around it because he knew it was just such a crapshoot of a play.
But he made it. But he made it. He made the play. That's what was so impressive, and that swung. And then it's just you got to feel for Lions fans. I mean, they've gone through so much, and that's why I was kind of rooting for Detroit in this. Try not to be like biased or anything or the fans, but like their fan base reminds me of the Padres, right? Like the Padres
very much
were so shitty for so many years, and we just stuck by them and made jokes and would go to the promo nights and go and try to have fun. And then they get a new coach and they make fun of Dan Campbell 3 years ago. Then they get the Jared Goff trade and they get all these players. And it's like, and the fact that, and it almost feels like the Padres, like you said, they get a 17-point lead. I mean, they take a 17-point lead and they just squander it. And it's like, they're going to go into this offseason just thinking, we could have done this. Can you imagine like if the 49ers win and it's like, if you're a Lions fan, you're like, we could have won the Super Bowl, like that's,
well, if they're anything like the Padres, then absolutely, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be like, oh, we're just one swing away, one kind of play away.
It.
The thing with the Lions is they couldn't. I mean, you got to give the Niners credit. That game, I don't want to.
They made the plays.
I don't want to trigger the guy in front of me right now wearing the Cowboys shirt. But that game was playing out like the Packers and the Cowboys, right? Packers were the big underdog. They were using the running game. They were taking it to the Cowboys. Niners looked so lost and like were dazed and confused, getting punched in the mouth. And then, they hold them to a field goal. I thought, my dad said this while we were watching the game, and it's so true. At the end of the first half, if the Lions scored a touchdown to go into halftime, that was the game. The game was going to be over.
Yeah.
But the fact
they
that
had all the
hold
momentum.
field goal, they had a chance. I mean, it's like you hold to a field goal, you still have a chance, but you need the Niners defense to figure it out and start stepping up. And that's what they did. That's something the Cowboys defense didn't do against the Packers that the Niners defense did against the Lions. I thought that what the Niners did against the Lions, I thought the Cowboys were going to do against the Packers. I literally thought that's how it was going to play, and the better team was going to come back. With all the weapons that the Niners have, they were able to, put some drives together, score, take advantage of the mistakes from Detroit, where they fumbled in their own territory early.
They had 2 fourth down drops.
2 fourth down drops, which I'm not opposed to the fourth down, going for a fourth down there.
You got to convert.
You live and die with they live and die with the fourth down all year. You got to keep going with
and that's how they got there though. I respect Dan. Like
the biggest problem I had. The biggest problem I had with Dan's decision making was look, you're down 10 with under 2 minutes to go. You got 3 timeouts. You got 3 pops. You got 4 pops at the end zone if you want it. But to run the ball on third down, which wasn't a guarantee, and the risk is if you get tackled, you're going to have to call a timeout, which basically means you have to onside kick. I mean, that was the game, and I know they were really good at running the ball, but that killed them. You had to take another pop at the end zone via pass, and at the very worst, if they don't complete it, at least the clock stops, and then you kick a field goal and go. You could still kick it deep because you had 3 timeouts. It would be a lot more difficult. Or maybe you score on third down or fourth down, via a touchdown, and you keep the 3 timeouts. At least it sets it up where you don't need an onside kick, which is absolutely impossible in the National Football League now.
Yeah, it's a low success rate.
I had a larger issue with their first 4th down try, I guess. I mean, they were up 14. And if you hit that field goal, you're up 3 scores.
Was that the one where? Is that the one where Goff threw it in the dirt?
It was the one. Yeah.
I don't
know. That was the one that was a little bit right of Reynolds. I think
the thing was though with Detroit,
no, he dropped it.
Yeah, he dropped it.
Their kickers all year, like north of 40 yards, were very inconsistent
and not. He hits 1 out of 2,
and not a guarantee.
But even if he hits 1. And not both of them.
48 yards, right hash,
game.
Pressure situation. It's not a guarantee.
But
I think you're better. I think you're better off converting a 4th down than you are trusting a kicker.
So then
why is he going after Reynolds too? Where was St. Brown or Laporta? Or why didn't you split out Gibbs? Why are you going to the 3rd or 4th option on that play? I understand maybe Laporta or St. Brown was double covered. I didn't go back and watch the film, but wouldn't you say to go to the Super Bowl, you want to target your best player, like in that moment? Like, I understand scheme, take what the defense gives you. You got to design. Ben Johnson, who's going to come back, I think that was reported earlier. He's not going to go take the Washington job.
He's asking.
How do you not dial that up? I mean, but Purdy made the plays. If you flip it back to the other side, he did it against the Packers. I mean, you could conceivably say that the 49ers should have lost the last 2 weeks, but they found ways to win. Good teams find ways to win. And it doesn't matter how ugly it is. It doesn't matter if there's style points. Can you get it done? And he did.
Well, the Niners did. I mean, against the Packers, it was a lot of checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey. He put the team on his back. Purdy made some good throws late in the game against Detroit. But I said it today. Here's my thing on Brock Purdy. He's a serviceable quarterback. But he's not the second coming of Christ. He's just not. I mean, there's nothing.
Not baby Joe Montana.
No, he's not. He's not that. He's not Tom Brady. He's not part of that elite class. And they're really. We've talked about this before, but the reality is the great era of quarterbacks has ended, and now you're in this new era where there's not as many. Like, you got guys like Brady and Manning and Breeze and
Rivers
and
Roethlisberger,
even Roethlisberger. I mean, guys like Tony Romo could be a guy that could help a team and win on a big contract, right? These are all guys that won as rookies and won on every contract that they've had and made long runs into the made runs in the postseason for their team. Nowadays, it's like you better have a quarterback on a rookie deal. Otherwise, everything's going to go south, with the exception of, right now, Patrick Mahomes, who passed the rookie test. He has gotten to the Super Bowl again for a second time, not on a rookie contract. And he has done it without Tyreek Hill, and he's done it without some of the weapons that he had at the beginning part of his career. Does he still have Travis Kelce? Yes. Rashid Rice is doing a pretty good job, and Isaiah Pacheco running the rock is very good for Kansas City. That's the 3-headed monster for the Chiefs. So it's not like he doesn't have weapons, but he doesn't have the same as he did when he first started in the league because they had more money to spend on other players because they were paying him a rookie deal. He's passed the rookie test. It's the same thing like with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl with Baltimore.
Elite.
Yes.
On a rookie contract.
Thank you, Will.
And everybody says he's this elite quarterback. And they make him the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. And then what happens to the Ravens? They go into the tank. I mean, they're no longer a threat to win anymore. So you look at some of these teams that have paid rookie quarterbacks big money. I think Dak Prescott's good enough to pass and beat the rookie test. I do. He's
sure about
he,
that?
That's right,
I do.
Braden.
He's not
sure
terrible.
about that?
I mean, I don't ride his coattails like this guy does, but I will say he's good. He's good enough to win at a high level. I don't think
He hasn't.
he
never has.
I'm sorry. He
He's
didn't
put
give up
together
41
like
points to the
13
Packers every
win
day.
season. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, the Cowboys defense blew that.
You could say the same thing about Lamar. He hasn't got. You got to get to the championship game.
Lamar
Like, at that
Jackson
point.
did not do anything in their last game. I mean, granted, he had nothing open. I mean, Spagnuolo had everything covered all over the place. I mean, but and you can
he
make
had
the
Zay
argument.
Flowers, and he starts taunting.
He's got Zay Flowers. Like, that's really it. I mean, Mark
He
Andrews
has
is
Odell Beckham.
hobbled.
The guy
He
wanted-
sucks,
the
dude.
guy
He's
wanted a
get out of
bag.
here. Odell Beckham.
He sat out all last year
Washed.
for this moment.
He's
back.
washed. He's
Free
washed.
Odell. Free
He's
Odell.
not. Guy went on a boat one time, has never been the same guy since.
The boat picture is still just amazing. Like that's still brought up anytime I
That's an
think
all-timer.
the Giants are
Washed.
going to go to the Super Bowl.
Washed. But no,
he redeemed himself in the Rams Super Bowl.
Let me
but-
ask you this. If the 49ers could get Matt Stafford today, no questions asked, and have him ready to play in the Super Bowl and flip it with Brock Purdy, do they do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely they do.
Does he get
I bet you they probably say yes to about 15, maybe 20 quarterbacks in the league that they could switch with right now with Brock Purdy, and they would do it.
So does he get to bring Kelly Stafford, who was bitching at Blueface, and now if he's in San Francisco, he's going to do it with E40? Does she get to come too?
Yes.
Yes, I guess.
But okay,
But
in that
let's-
scenario, yeah, to
but
answer your question though,
seriously,
yes, he would do it. Like, but
It's
wouldn't
like
you say
if CJ Stroud's on the Niners, are they better?
you
they're
could put
better. They're
that answers
better.
your question though. Like there's probably 10 guys that probably couldn't get it done in the 49ers. Like Trey Lance is one of them.
I was going to say Trey Lance.
in the 49ers system.
He's
They
a
are- that is
backup
the best
quarterback.
system.
He's a backup
the best.
quarterback. All Brock Purdy is a system quarterback, but all Brock Purdy has to do is not turn the ball over. It's
And he
simple
doesn't.
for him. They make it. No, he does. I mean, against Green Bay, he should have thrown 3 picks, and Green Bay just flat out dropped
Shoulda,
them.
coulda, woulda.
Well, he should have thrown a pick against
But
the
he
Lions
didn't.
that Ayuk
Exactly,
caught.
just
I
flat
mean,
out dropped it.
He
I
might
mean,
be
it's
the luckiest
not
quarterback. in the
exactly.
league.
You can't say like if he throws the ball right to the other team and he drops it. Is he? He's just good. Like he's so good
Made
that the
that happen.
Packers guy dropped the ball. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not making good.
He
throws.
didn't catch the ball.
He-
That's not a recorded
He
interception.
does not make good throws. I mean, eventually it's going to burn him, just like Jordan Love.
Yes.
Jordan Love against the Cowboys made a bunch of stupid throws that should have been picked, and he got rewarded for it. And then what did the media do? The media said, this guy is great. He's the future. He's better than Aaron Rodgers. This is the
They
great.
found their third
They found their
consecutive
next
Hall of
quarterback. And then what happens against San Francisco? He makes the same damn throws, and they go right to a 49er, and it's a pick. And now the thing's like, well, maybe he can't play quarterback. Maybe he's not the answer for them in Green Bay. It's like, the narrative is so dumb. It's like you have a good season, you're a great quarterback. You have a bad season, get this guy to leave. It's the same thing with Lamar. Every year, all of Lamar's good years, all of his good years, MVP. We've never seen a quarterback like him. He can throw. He can run. And then he has a bad year or he goes to the playoffs. You know what? I think it's time for the Ravens to move on from Lamar. He's not that great. Stop trying to sell these guys as the second coming of the greatest quarterback to ever live every time they have some success. That's why I'm so critical about quarterbacks. I mean, Brock Purdy has done a great job for San Francisco. But let me ask you this. If you have to pay him the most amount of money on the team, are the Niners still as dominant as they are?
No, it's the same
They're
thing
not.
as every team in the league outside of
What if
Kansas
he gets-
City.
Okay.
Outside of because
Outside of Kansas
Patrick
City.
Mahomes is at that level with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, all that, and all of those great quarterbacks, they can win with him getting a lot of money because he could carry a team.
Well, so I was just doing some backtracking in my head, right? Last year's Super Bowl, Mahomes against a quarterback on a rookie deal, Jalen Hurts, right? Year before that, Matt Stafford versus a quarterback on a rookie deal, Joe Burrow. 2020, a little different, Mahomes and Brady. That's the definition of its own.
Those are
class.
two. Those are
right?
two great quarterbacks.
2019, Mahomes and Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I don't think he was on a rookie deal, but he wasn't making.
He wasn't a
$30,
top-notch
$40
quarterback.
million.
No. He was winning. They were winning despite him.
I mean, that's just the kind of, the way that you have to follow unless you have a guy like, Pat Mahomes that can carry you there year after year. You got to strike gold on a rookie deal and build a good enough team around him in that 2 to 3 year stretch until they start asking for their money.
That's why right now the Chargers are hosed. Because now they got to start paying
Chargers,
Herbert a ton of money.
Eagles,
They're in cap hell.
Bengals.
The Eagles are in trouble too because Jalen Hurts is not one of those quarterbacks. He cannot carry a team.
No.
He can run the ball. Does a good job with the push. He's got great weapons, and nobody talked about the fact that they had arguably the best offensive line in all of the NFL. I mean, one of the best in all of the NFL.
Center.
If you put Justin Fields on the Eagles, they probably do a lot of great things. They probably do.
Same quarterback.
It's true. They probably do a lot of the great things. So it leads to kind of our last topic of the day. There's other things we want to get into. I spent too much time on the wedding. But I will say, I don't hate Brock Purdy. It's criticism about the quarterback, but I don't hate Brock Purdy. And the other thing I think is very prominent now in the media is if you say anything critical about any player, organization, team, anything negative about politics, you go through the list of just different kind of talking, right? The discussions where you use criticism. You can talk about the TSA pre-check line at an airport, and you have some criticisms on it.
Absolutely.
The one I'll tell you, the Phoenix, dude. Phoenix was a joke. I don't know. They had one lane open for security on my way back.
Yeah, it sucks.
Lane.
They're one of the worst ones. But there's only like 5 people.
By the way,
so it's okay.
Who names an airport Sky Harbor? That is the lamest name I've ever heard for an airport. But I digress. So
tell us how you really feel.
It's a stupid name. So nowadays, it seems like if you are critical about something, you immediately get deemed a hater. Is there a difference between being critical and being a hater? I could be critical about Brock Purdy. That doesn't mean I hate the guy. And the question always is, why does everybody hate Brock Purdy, right? That seems to be the question right now. Why does everybody hate Brock Purdy? I don't think anybody hates Brock Purdy.
I might.
I don't hate Brock Purdy. There's nothing to hate. What do you hate about Brock Purdy? Aside from the fact that he wears a Niners uniform and you're a Cowboys fan.
Well, that's exactly it.
I mean, there's no reason to hate Brock Purdy. I don't hate Brock Purdy. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. He's okay.
He wins.
What does that mean? His team wins.
He's a part of the team.
He doesn't win the games for San Francisco. San Francisco wins the games with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy ain't winning the games for the San Francisco 49ers. Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are winning games for the San Francisco 49ers.
I mean,
it ain't Brock Purdy.
Well, we can make the same argument about Herbert and the Chargers.
No, Herbert doesn't win.
Right.
He's not a good quarterback. He doesn't win.
And he's going to as soon as Jim Harbaugh gets there. It'll be fine.
Oh, God. Here we go.
We haven't seen it yet.
No, I just
here we go. But I don't hate Lamar.
You're not a hater. You can be critical.
Not a hater. You're critical. Yeah. I'm not a hater.
And
these people are not haters on Brock Purdy.
Because here's the problem with media now. It just turns into like a screaming match. It feels like everyone does. Come on. Like, it doesn't matter whatever big network it is. But he wins. Like, that's the biggest thing. And he's in the Super Bowl.
There's like a fine line of being a hater and, trying to give some gentle, not backhanded, things to say about somebody. Like if I say, oh, Brock gets carried by his team, but let's look at these 4 plays where, he made the right play and pushed the ball downfield and let drives go on. I mean, that's just kind of that fine line of like, hey, I'm not going to hate on the guy and not make it sound like I'm hating on him, but I'm going to give credit like where credit's due.
Absolutely. You got to do that.
But the problem is nobody wants to do that. It's got to be one extreme or the other. It's either he's the greatest thing, since sliced bread or... I'm
a borderline Charger hater, but I'm not like a super hater as much as people think I'm a hater. I'm very critical about like the Chargers, especially after they left, right? I can say a lot of different things about how poor their organization is, how dumb moves they make. But that being said, I flat out go on air and say all the time, like, oh, Jim Harbaugh's a good sign for them. They might find a way to screw it up, but it was a good signing for him. I mean, that's a good hiring for a head coach. I think Justin Herbert I think he's capable of being a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. I really do. He hasn't played that so far because he doesn't have a lot around him. But that being said, like, for everything that I even picked them to go to the AFC Championship game this year. I thought they could finally get over the hump because their roster is really good. So there is some, you got to be able to throw out some positivity or say things when they do well, as you were saying, as much as being critical, just to be real about it. I mean, I like being real about it. As one of my former high school football coaches used to say, Coach Mack from Texas, he's like, man, I'm a fair guy. I try to be as fair as possible on certain topics like this, but just because for a small brief of time I'm criticizing how something is run or how something is operated doesn't make me a hater as much as everybody wants to make you seem like you're a hater.
It's because everyone's soft now, and if you're not completely just sucking them off, then everyone's like, oh, then you hate him. He's not that good.
Then you
give him his flowers when he deserves it. And look, if the Chiefs win, we will not hear the end. We won't hear the end of the Swift proposal with, Travis Kelce and Mahomes. But once that dies, we will not hear the end of the Purdy, being the guy. Like, and that's going to happen. And that just comes with playing that position, playing for that team, playing with, they have a bunch of stars. It's a great team. It's a great run organization from the front office down. They do it the right way. And that's why they had the amount of success they've had, in the last, half decade up until now. And they could potentially win another title. So
if the Niners don't win, it's going to be, I think, because of Brock Purdy. And I think they're going to have to make a serious decision of how many times they could get as far as they can with not addressing the quarterback position. Because they got the best running back in the league. They got the best offensive weapon in the league in Deebo Samuel. They got the best left tackle in the league. They got a really good tight end. I mean, they're loaded on defense.
Good wide receiver.
They got a good front seven. I mean, their secondary's a little suspect, but
they got an all-pro corner.
Overall,
good on defense though. Like Detroit took it to him. Like if
their defense got exposed a couple times.
I thought they were better. The entire year.
I thought they were better than what they showed against Detroit. But
on paper, they look amazing.
Their front seven's not bad. But their secondary is not good. Their secondary is not good. But that being said, they decided to not invest in a quarterback and spend all their money elsewhere and roll the dice with a quarterback that's just going to manage the game. And that's exactly what the Niners do. And we'll see how that plays out. Because I'm telling you right now, Brock Purdy's not going to outduel Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have to find a way to deal with the three-headed monster of Pacheco,
you got to get your dig in there.
Rice, and Kelce. And you can't double team anybody either because that's also foolish. But we'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week. Did want to dive into that, kind of hater topic as well. We're kind of running out of time. It's a big week for college basketball. Big win for the Frogs tonight. How the Aztecs doing?
Currently 53 or down 53-45. Has not looked good.
How much time's left?
Most of the game. 12:27 left in the second.
Plenty of time. Go steal one from Colorado State. Will.
No, I wanted to. I mean, they were down 17-4 at one point. So it's Mountain West is tough, man. They're going to get, there's talks that there could be up to 5 bids that goes to the tournament.
If you look at Lenardi's last bracketology, how about this? How about this? There is a possibility, Will. Listen to what I have to say. There is a possibility, especially you, Pac-2 guy. There is a possibility the Mountain West gets more bids to the NCAA tournament than the ACC and the Pac-12 combined.
Good.
Could you? Good. I mean, what if I told you that 10 years ago? You wouldn't even believe me.
No. Yeah. No. Because
they're only going to get 5 though. Because like the 6th team right now is Colorado State, unless they knock off the Aztecs here and kind of go on a run, which I guess they're capable of doing. That loss to Wyoming really hurt the Mountain West chances to get 6 teams in. But 5 teams. I mean, you're talking about the ACC. You're talking about like conferences of Duke and North Carolina and NC State and Syracuse. Tobacco Road and Syracuse. I mean, you go through the ACC, Virginia, who's been really good in the last decade or so. You're talking about a conference that has all those teams only getting 3 teams in. You're talking about a Pac-12 conference with the likes of Arizona and UCLA and USC and Arizona State, Utah, Washington, Oregon. Cougs are playing good basketball. You got to try to save the Pac-2 conference. by getting into the tournament. I mean, that's another conference only get maybe 2 to 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, and the Aztecs and the Mountain West are going to get 5. I think the Aztecs are still the best team in the Mountain West Conference. I had somebody say that they're not. I disagree. I know
North Carolina, by the way, was upset tonight. Shout out to EC Preps. I had to double check that. That's great. They lost to Georgia Tech. No, it's good, right? It's good for the mid majors. You know what? Screw nil, and that's a separate conversation. That has, I feel like, a little bit to do with these, powerhouse teams. It's they don't. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I want to get in the weeds, but. I mean, to be on the West Coast, this is good, right? Get some good exposure, because everyone's going to say, "Oh, this is a boring tournament." No, everyone's going to watch still. It's not quite the Super Bowl in terms of that spectacle, but to have that many teams, I mean, that's solid. The Big 12 has done that in the years past.
They might get like 10 teams in. Well, it already had the chance. They got like 9 in right now, and they have 2 on the bubble that might sneak in with 11. 11 of the 14 teams in the Big 12.
And they're only going to get better next year.
And they're going to get better with Arizona. The conference is ridiculous, dude.
It's insane.
The report, by the way, from Dennis Dodd 3 months ago about San Diego State telling Brett Yormark in the Big 12, thanks but no thanks, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's the most San Diego State thing.
That is the most Aztec thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, think about that, Will. They said, thanks, but we got a potential opportunity to join the Pac-12, and they're sticking together. Are you kidding me? Think about this conference. Think about all the games we just talked about, the Big 12. Think about San Diego State. Could you imagine tonight, after watching TCU knock off Texas Tech, the nightcap on ESPN2 is San Diego State playing host to the Kansas Jayhawks at Viejas.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing.
And then Saturday, the Aztecs have to tip off against Arizona at the McKale Center. And then next Tuesday, they got to go to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. And then they got West Virginia coming to Viejas on Saturday.
And then Baylor 2 weeks later. No, I mean, from a basketball perspective, yes, the Big 12 would be awesome if State was in it. Football took a dip. I don't think it would.
They're going to be good, dude. They're going to be good.
No, but like the shine of the Big 12 with Texas and OU leaving. I mean, yeah, okay, it's fine. Cincinnati, okay. UCF, all right. It doesn't have that pageantry to it, having those big teams. But just sticking with basketball, yes. I mean, that is a powerhouse conference. It's awesome.
Year after year with all the money and whatnot.
I should have the audio back now.
Oh, there we go. I thought I was going crazy.
No, I had to reset it, and I have to get this studio thing on there. So I got to find Matt and put him on here, and it's kind of a pain, but it is what it is.
I was pontificating about the depth of the Big 12 basketball, and no, I mean I couldn't really hear what Matt was saying, but yeah, no, just to put a bow on that, that was. You guys are deep. It's awesome. It's going to be another fun March. You don't know if, State still, yeah, I heard you right before we cut out, people are arguing, are they the best, in the Mountain West? Is New Mexico going to make an SDSU run in the tournament like last year? Boise, whatever. I just, overall, as a fan, you got to enjoy it. I mean, it's a good time to be a part of this conference, although I still hate it a lot. And I hate, the TV deals and the times and, some of the opponents, but I think it'll be solid. I think it's going to be a really fun March.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Sorry about that with the kind of technical difficulty. My laptop just buffered too long, and then I had to reset the audio, and audio runs through my laptop. But I think we're back up and running. It should be a fun year of college basketball. We have a little bit of time left. I do want to dive into the Padres real quick. Did you see Dennis Lynn's survey, his fan survey on the pod? Did you fill that thing out? I mean, I
don't have an athletics thing, so
oh man, you gotta get an athletic. It's a tax write-off. Say it's in your business, Come on. So he put out a survey. He does it every year. It's how confident are you in the Padres, and all that sort of stuff, and how excited for the season. So let me ask you some of the questions. What is your confidence level in the Padres and the future of the Padres? Not confident, somewhat confident. Or no, not confident, somewhat confident, or super confident.
I'll go somewhat. I'll split the difference. I mean, right now, just on paper, lack of pitching. You've seen in the past with, World Series champs, they have tremendous depth, from the rotation to the bullpen. And that is an alarming question, I think, right now. There's also other, factors, with the Manny injury. I believe he's going to come back strong. I think he'll be solid, but I'm not going to hold my breath on him. I don't know, potentially starting opening day. Hope maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot and, he rolls out and sends, Petco into a frenzy, when they announce his name. I just think coming off elbow surgery will be tough, but, sliding Kim, thank God we have him, right? Like he's the most versatile infielder we have. So, I mean, just though there's other positional stuff as well, it's Schilt's first year, at the helm. So I guess I would say somewhat, it's not a bad team. It's just, there's a large amount of holes that are on it at every level. And it's hard to trust Preller at this point.
I got the real question here. How confident are you that the Padres are heading in the right direction? Very confident, somewhat confident, unsure, not very confident, not confident at all. I would say not very confident right now just because of the uncertainties that the Padres are facing, uncertainties with the TV contract, uncertainties with the payroll, uncertainties with the roster. You don't have a complete roster yet. So as of right now, not very confident. Also not really knowing what the post Peter Seidler San Diego Padres are going to look like.
This is the most stagnant offseason that they've had in the last 5 years.
Seidler Preller era,
so
absolutely.
About
uncertainty. It's just it's not normal.
It's almost like for a fan base that was so, starved to get some big money and big stars coming. It happened for like a 4 to 5 year stretch, and it doesn't happen 1 year, and everybody's all up in arms about, oh my God, are we doing the right thing?
I think it's because I think Padres fans are so afraid to go back to what it was. I think a lot of Padres, and they see this and go, here we go again. We're going back to your Padres, where it's like, it's cheap. They're just trying to fill out a roster. Your biggest offseason pickup is Clint Barmas or Seth Smith. And Jason Bartlett and Orlando Hudson. You're expecting the Padres.
Those were the days.
All-time middle infield.
You're sitting there going like, well, if Oscar Salazar has enough at-bats, I think he could be a pretty good hitter for the Padres.
Tommy Medica.
Yeah, exactly. Like Tommy Medica's the second coming in the minor leagues. You're
Carlos Suaje.
You're dying. You're living and dying in every El Paso,
Jabari Blash.
Chihuahua box score. Jabari Blash. Oh, we got that from Oakland on a Rule 5 pickup. Look how great this guy is. He's the next Babe Ruth. What's the Aztecs
really
story?
not to dwell too much on it, Braden. So I pulled up the Dennis Lynn survey. So at the last one at the bottom, not confident at all. 9% of the vote came in. I guess my question for the people that answered that, are you just saying this? We just fall flat on our face? I mean, do we just
how confident are you the Padres are headed in the right direction? Do you think it's gonna they're on a clear path to winning a World Series in the next?
No, I know. I'm just trying to put myself in the perspective of the people, the 9% that said not confident at all. I mean, there is some stuff to work with here.
Well, it's probably,
and I understand the skepticism, but
it would be like, they're never going to get rid of Preller. He's proven that he can't get the job done at the major league level. They're going to continue to cut money. The players that they have under contract getting older. They got bad money deals. Maybe they'll do a fire. I mean, that would be like my thought process of not confident at all. The TV, not having a TV contract. We can't pay for anybody. That kind of odd that stuff. I think the TV contract is an overrated topic.
I was gonna say, I don't think the average fan.
It doesn't matter. They don't.
Screw Bally,
but they don't.
Waking up every day, holy shit!
Screw that.
They don't understand what goes into a media contract anyway. Like Will and I have experienced being in the industry, like how some of the stuff works. But the reality is,
messy.
The Padres are going to be on TV. Yeah. They're going to find a way to get on TV. Here's the other thing about the Padres. If you're telling me, it's either two things. First of all, they're probably working with somebody on something. And the cool thing about it is having your own media rights means you can negotiate with pretty much anybody. So if they really wanted to, they could make their own individual pitch to Amazon or Apple TV Plus or some of these. And I'm doing it very broad. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of legalities in there of what Major League Baseball will and will not allow you to do in terms of showing your product. But the fact that they control their own media rights means that they can go negotiate with anybody. To say that they're not doing that right now would be ridiculous. Or it'd be incredibly, incredible organizational malpractice if they were not discussing different ways and avenues to make money off a TV deal. I think they're working on that. It's not really our problem. But it sounds like they're going to start spending money after they reset the CBT, which I highly think is going to happen. I really think they're going to reset the CBT and then go after it again in 2025. Based on some people I've talked to that know the side of their family, it sounds like business will be going on as usual at the end of this season. And I totally believe that. I think you got to be patient in the situation, not look at the tree, look at the forest of the San Diego Padres and understand why they wouldn't do that. The other thing that we've talked about off air that I got from, there's a couple things that are happening right now. Okay. From the agent side of free agency, Scott Boras has told all of his clients, we're not signing until February. Okay. We've gotten that word on the street, which I understand the business side of that. If you're Scott Boras, you tell the big hitters, right, that want to go sign place, they're going to be taken care of. You're going to tell them, don't sign till February, and we're going to let everybody else, we're going to go one by one like a domino and sign our contracts, and then the lower level Boras guys, the middle guys, are going to get panic bought by a lot of teams that needed to fill out a roster before the start of the season. That's one thing that's happening, on top of the fact that the CBT is happening, Boras clients are waiting until February, and the last thing is most organizations understand that this free agent market is not as good as next year's market. I know there was Ohtani out there, but that's a big fish. It's not, the depth of the free agent market is not worth the money that people are spending on free agents compared to next year. It would be like in the real estate market, understanding that next year, some people are going to be selling some good houses, a lot better houses in better locations than you currently have available to you for the same price of you buying a house right now in probably a location that is not something that you want. It's like, do I want to live in Alpine for $10 million, or do I want to live in La Jolla for $10 million? The Alpine house is available now. I know the La Jolla house is going to be available later. I'd rather live in La Jolla and kind of suck it up for a year. I'd save my money, maybe spend a little bit more, $10.5 million for the house in La Jolla. Obviously, that's not really realistic in the grand scheme of things, but you understand. I'm waiting for something better because I know what's going to come on the market in a little bit later. Yes, I do need players now, right? I do need a place to live right now, but I might rent somebody instead than giving out a big contract in a year that I want to save money in a CBT, and in a year where that player's probably not going to put it over the top. It's the same like Cody Bellinger, right? The Padres need an outfielder and left-handed hitter, and Cody Bellinger would fit the mold. But do I want to overspend for a guy like him that's not going to necessarily help my team here in 2024 when I can go out in 2025 after I reset the luxury tax and load up on a bunch of free agents?
Man, I feel like Mark Grant would be a little upset that you're choosing
I threw Alpine under the bus
over his neighborhood. No, you make a good point. And that's the thing. The Padres have been kind of guilty of that in the past too, where they've, made some questionable decisions with free agency. And it's like, did you really need that? Was it worth that sign? Yeah, it should work itself out. And that goes back, it's one of Boris's clients is Snell, and it sucks. He's not going to be around, with the team anymore, and good for him. He's going to get the bag with, another team, and hopefully, he continues his success. And this goes back to what you asked originally, Braden, of, how confident, are you that the Padres are headed in the right direction? That's a glaring hole. He won this fucking Cy Young like that. How do you replace that? Obviously another Cy Young winner, that goes without saying, but I mean, that's the biggest thing I'm worried about. There's some, positional aspects and, coaching and whatever. But does Musgrove, is he the opening day starter? Did we roll out Darvish? I mean, hopefully he doesn't break his foot again. That sucked, or his toe or whatever it was.
He's progressing really well.
Yeah,
so
and
I wouldn't
Darvish has been solid. I
wouldn't worry about him per se. But I think he's gonna be ready to go. Same thing with Darvish. He's progressing really well too. I do want to get to a couple more of these questions because we're running out of time. How does your confidence level in the Padres this year compare to how you felt at this time last year? You're a lot more confident now, a little more confident, feel about the same, less confident, a lot less confident.
Less confident?
Way
Just
less,
looking
way
at the
less
roster
confident.
that you're looking at?
Oh, way less confident. Absolutely.
I'm a lot less confident. I just at this time last year, I had placed a disgusting amount of money on us to win the World Series, and that completely backfired in my face by like May, and it just never seemed to get better. No, there was just hope last year. We had a fucking owner last year. Like that there is so many other problems, and I know the players are going to do their best to weather the storm and just handle business on the field because that's the best that they can do and provide a great product for us to enjoy every single night and, bitch and moan and praise and just support them on Twitter, which I love the Padres. Shout out Padres Twitter. They are savages. I get a kick out of every one of them, so a lot less confident. Like, so 1.3% said, I'm a lot more confident now. I mean, that's probably just trolls. That's Elon's bots that he didn't, filter out correctly that were being assholes.
What'd you say? 1.3% are a lot more confident now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. Or people that are just like got their head in the sand.
Guys that don't like Juan Soto.
That's right.
Happy he's gone.
Juan Soto's gone. We have Hassan Kim. That's
No,
the
I mean,
the deal.
look, this time last year,
I was the most confident ever in the history of setting a Padres fandom.
Last year,
60,000
yeah.
people at FanFest.
FanFest was wild, dude.
Yeah.
That was a wild
we don't have
time.
a FanFest this year. That's all
I thought we were
going to
win 105 games last year.
Fans are feeling. I mean, obviously it's not to the fans, but
You beat the Dodgers.
you see that there's
You're coming off beating the Dodgers in a playoff series and then going to the NLCS, and then you sign Xander Bogaerts. Regardless of what you think of the contract, you had Xander Bogaerts coming to town for the Padres. You were going into the season going, nobody's going to touch us.
Well, yeah, then you're already looking at the roster or the lineup 21 games in when you get Fernando back, and you're like, we're going to score 9 runs a game.
Gavin Lux tore his ACL in spring training, so you're like, their starting shortstop for the Dodgers took a huge hit.
After an off season of the Dodgers where they're like, we're not going to do anything. We're going to go.
They didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything.
No,
because they were so arrogant about knowing they were going to get back to the playoffs with that. I mean, I was like, we're going to stick it to these guys, and then they did it, and then it was just such a disappointing season. Where it's like, it was almost like a fan fest when they started talking about like the World Series and stuff. I felt like it was LeBron saying, not 1, not 2, not 3. And I was like,
at least they won 2. They got 2.
That's right. But still, it's like, that's kind of how it felt, going into the season. So naturally, you're not going to feel as high as you did last year at this time. So I think that's an obvious, confidence level downturn. How confident are you in AJ Preller? Very confident, somewhat unsure, not very confident, not confident at all. I mean, it's been, what has he got, 10 seasons under his belt, and he's made it to the NLCS one time. I mean, you could cut him as much slack as possible the first 5 years. Well, he's taking over this team, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, how many general managers, again, I'm being critical. I don't hate A.J. Preller. I'm not a hater. But I'm being critical. I mean, how many?
You hate that he eats Denny's. That's what you hate.
I have no issue with that. He maybe should spend more money at Cheesecake Factory, and he'll be in a lot better position.
He could be like Vince Young.
Vince Young spending $60K ordering cheesecake.
That cheesecake. Yeah.
But how many general managers get the opportunity that AJ Preller has gotten in terms of his leash of like? I mean, how many years? You're a Cowboys fan.
I was about to say, I was drawing the comparison in my head.
Guy's not, what is he? He doesn't own the ball club like Jerry does, but could you imagine? I mean, it's like, what is he, Jason Garrett out there? Or just continue? Like, no, it's going to get better eventually.
I would say, just to zag while everyone zigs, I'll say somewhat confident. I didn't really like the haul that we got with Juan Soto. And again, it's back to the 2013 through 19 Padres of prospects that we just glorify them because this is it. This is it. I think, gun to the head, he has to get this done. And if he doesn't perform with, and there's going to be some more signings and there's probably going to be some trades. I hope, in like the huge doomsday scenario, the big, Machado or Tatis. I mean, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But like something that catastrophic where they would have to lead the team. That's where, I just don't think someone, even though he's had this long of a leash, there has to be some sort of urgency. And it's not that, and again, I don't hate AJ Preller either. I don't like Denny's, but I don't mind AJ Preller because
what's your chain breakfast place of choice then, Will? Are you an IHOP guy?
I get a breakfast burrito. I don't know. I don't go to breakfast places. I don't like, if I had to choose, I don't know.
I'd rather go to a diner.
A diner, yeah. I go to some, I don't know. Look it up on Yelp. Yeah, Perry's is
Perry's
cool.
Cafe, money. Harry's. And
if you
Perry's,
go to fucking Denny's when you're sober like that, no, there's serious problems. I've had too many bad memories.
Will just made his F-word count for the night.
Yep.
Yeah,
count it.
Yeah.
Where's the bell? He used it. Yeah, he used it on his roommate's cat last week, and he's used it on Denny's this week. Wow, tell us how you really feel about Denny's.
I gotta make him count.
Spectrum.
Last question for you. What should the Padres do with Hassan Kim? Negotiate a contract extension before the season, before he reaches free agency. See how he performs in a contract year and consider moving him at the trade deadline. Trade him before the season starts, or enjoy the last season of a team-friendly contract and then let him walk. 41% of people, obviously, because there's big fans, said negotiate a contract extension. Let me lay out I'm just going to lay out some real-world scenarios for you. World scenarios of just let's bring everybody back to reality on the Hassan Kim thing. I don't hate Hassan Kim, not a hater. I like Hassan Kim. Got to preface this.
The word of the night, hater.
Yeah, that's right, but not Josh. Here's the story. Here's everything you know about Hassan Kim. So Hassan Kim obviously is a fan favorite. People love him because you got to think about it from the marketing standpoint. He is the best shortstop that they currently have on the team. And he is a good asset for the Padres, but he is also one of the last pieces not tied down to the ship that you can toss overboard when you're trying to reset your CBT, because he is a luxury that you cannot afford either now or in the future, and he is your only trade asset that you can willingly part ways with where it makes sense. That's the background. Here's what he's probably going to get in a contract. He is going to get a shortstop contract. He was relatively around the same age as Xander Bogaerts was when he signed that big deal with the Padres last year, 2 years ago. He hasn't accomplished as much as Xander Bogaerts, but he is a Gold Glove caliber fielder at shortstop. He still is relatively young. He has improved tremendously in Major League Baseball since he came over from Korea. And with inflation, he's probably looking at a Xander Bogaerts type contract. I mean, some team is going to pay him a large deal like that, about $20 to $25 million a year, to be their everyday shortstop, which is obviously something he would probably rather do than play second base. Are you willing to give Hassan Kim a contract that is almost to the point of Xander Bogaerts' long contract? Paying him till he's 40. I don't think the Padres would do that, but somebody might. Giving him $20 to $25 million a year. Is he worth that kind of money for a team like the San Diego Padres? I think he might be worth that kind of money for any other team that needs a shortstop really bad. But can you take on another contract like that if you're the Padres? So I think you have to think about that before you make your decision on what you do with Hassan Kim. I think you could get something out of him. Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to trade Hassan Kim for a starting outfielder and a starting pitcher? I mean, obviously it wouldn't be an ace, but you could probably get like a 4 or 5 out of him and probably a serviceable outfielder or a first baseman. I would say yes to that. I would trade Hassan Kim because I'm not going to be able to afford him in the future. I would pick up, let's just say a position player, a good, solid position player, not necessarily an all-star, but a good, solid major league position player, whether it be first base or the outfield. I'd move Cronenworth back to second base because he's locked under contract for a long period of time. And I get a 4th or 5th starter. I mean, that's kind of, with your budget, that kind of puts everything together in one simple package instead of just having Hassan Kim play second base, which isn't his natural position because he ain't moving Xander, and you're not going to give the guy $25 million a year.
You feel like this is the peak of Hassan Kim's value?
Trade value?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think if you start the season with Hassan Kim, you can't trade him at the deadline.
So I just pulled up his FanGraphs numbers that he's projected to do for this year.
Yeah.
Average is 260 last year. FanGraphs has him projected at 247. On base, he had a great on base year last year. He boosted his walk rate, 351 last season, and 329 is what they have him at for this year. Slug going down 10 points from 398 to 388. WRC plus going back down to 101 league average. That's a dish, right? How many runs he's gonna be creating, and his WAR going from 4.4 to 3.3. So they kind of have like a coming back down to earth scenario for Kim, and I mean, you said it right there. Looking at his money, right? Like, you're not going to pay two guys that Xander Bogaerts deal for the same age and
if
over
you
the
do
same
that,
range
right,
at the same position.
you're going to have to move Xander, which you're not going to do after you signed
Right.
him, and because nobody else is going to sign with you. You're going to be like, they're just going to move me.
Right. But, like, if I were to pay two guys
Right.
9-figure deals in the
They're playing
same
different
part of the
positions.
field, I would have kept Juan Soto.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely. I would have kept him. I'd much rather have him on the team than Hassan Kim. I mean, he's not as much of a fan favorite, I guess, but you can't make decisions
No.
based on emotions because the fans chant his name. The fans loved Franmil Reyes.
He was a good player, huh?
They loved Franmil Reyes. He said, "I will always love you." He's like, right, fan favorite. People were pissed when they got rid of him.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that right now?
But HSK is way better. He's so much better.
He is better,
than
but the reason
Reyes.
why people want him is because he's a fan favorite. They like
So
chanting his name.
yes, okay. There's credence
There's
to
a lot
that.
of that.
So would you say you want to trade him then before the season starts?
It's one of your value. You can't trade him in the middle of the year for a couple of reasons. One, you're either in contention, which would be stupid to trade him, or two, you're not going to get nearly as much out of him. And at that point, if you're in the position where you can trade Hassan Kim, the Padres are in a bigger world of hurt than we expected, and it would have been better to trade him before the season started to prevent having to trade players at the deadline because you don't have a full roster right now.
So if you were to trade him, then you got to fill that hole, and then especially if Manny, we don't know if he's going to get hurt. They're like having that depth in the infield.
You got Jackson Merrill.
So you think
you could move Jake Cronenworth over to second base? You could have Jackson Merrill start the year on the big league club. You can get his clock started if you wanted to. I mean, everybody keeps telling me Jackson Merrill's the second coming of a middle infielder, right? I mean, it's the same narrative over and over again. What I do not want to see is Jackson Merrill start the season on the major league club starting in left field. I do not want to see that. That would be catastrophically bad. I had some people in the comments today be like, well, Fernando Tatis Jr. did that. He's not Fernando Tatis Jr. He's not a superstar. And where did Fernando start when he made the big league club? Shortstop, his natural position. Put him in a spot that he's used to playing. Get him used to the major leagues. I don't even think Jackson Merrill is ready yet anyway. But if you are going to have him on the team, just like the same conversation I had with this guy about C.J. Abrams when they pulled him up, if he's going to get pulled up, he better be starting every single day. Otherwise, you're wasting his time. I think the same thing can be said about Jackson Merrill. And unless he's playing second base, there's no reason to have him up in the major league club. Why set him up for failure before the year starts and just mentally mess him up before you even get going with a guy that is part of your core that you're trying to keep because you want to be the Dodgers and facilitate your major league roster with young prospects?
You could trade him at the deadline. I think you could.
I mean, yeah.
Do you think the Padres are going to be in contention?
Let me ask you this: they're 3 games out of a wild card spot, and they trade Hassan Kim. What's the fan base doing?
Oh, they're gonna freak out. Whatever they're gonna freak out regardless.
That is a major freak out.
They're gonna freak out regardless.
You can't pigeonhole yourself into trading at the deadline because this is what's gonna happen. They're gonna be within striking distance because the Padres, with their stars that they have, they're good enough to compete and be around a playoff spot. Fernando and Xander's gonna have a better year, and Machado, and you got good solid players that if they play the way they're capable of playing, they can hang with the Reds and the Marlins and the Rockies and probably the Giants as they're constructed right now. I mean, start thinking about some of the teams you're going to be competing for a wild card spot for. They can hang with those teams, and at the trade deadline, they're going to be within a couple games of those spots. At this Padres team is as much as they're not the team they were last year, they're not catastrophically bad where they're going to be like 20 games out of a wild card position at the trade deadline. They will probably be within 5 games. If your major league club is within 5 games, the team you root for is within 5 games of a wild card spot at the trade deadline, do you want them to buy or do you want them to sell?
I want him to buy.
I want to buy.
I want him to buy.
The whole point is
wanna
being
buy
in the
all the time.
playoffs. I want to buy. So if you're within 5 games, right, of a wild card spot, which means you're, in 7th place in the National League, potentially more, and you trade Hassan Kim, I mean, are you kidding me? Can you handle that?
So when do you think? Okay, then when is he getting traded then?
You should trade him before the season starts, is what I'm saying.
Do it as soon as Boris.
So the third week of
start
February,
signing.
he's going to be
I'd start-
before
I'd-
spring training.
they've been shopping him for the last month and a half. I'd pull the trigger on something close, especially if I can get 2 major league players. Now, I wouldn't trade him just to trade him. I need 2 major league players back.
Starters,
Or I need-
ready to go.
Right. And you got to trade him to some place that has a need for a shortstop that is willing to sign Hassan Kim. The Marlins have a need for a shortstop. The Rays have a need for the shortstop. But the Rays don't make any sense because they don't sign older players to long-term deals. So why would you – I mean, you're not going to get anything out of the Rays for him. You might convince the Marlins to do something like that, but they're cheap too. I mean, you got to find the right partner for that. But I would be trying to trade him as quickly as possible.
He's going to be on the roster. He's going to start opening day.
And
He
you know
probably
what?
will be,
It
but-
probably. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to let him walk at the end of the year because they can't afford him. And then what's going to happen? Right? And then you get nothing for him, which I was okay with Juan Soto because what he brings to a team is a little bit different than what Hassan Kim brings to the team aside from people chanting his name. He's Matt Perez. That's Will Galvez. We've been talking for an hour and a half. Thanks again for joining us on the live stream. Be sure to follow all of our outlets. Gaslamp's Finest Media. We are on social media. We are Gaslamp's Finest on Instagram. Gaslamp's Finest on X, Twitter. Gaslamp's Finest on TikTok. GaslampsFinestMedia.com. Check out all of our platforms. Subscribe to us on our YouTube page at Gaslamp Media. And follow our links. We'll be doing this every single Tuesday. We're going to get our audio-only podcast up as soon as I get the RSS feed, and that will be wherever you get your podcast. Good opening show. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll be back next week. Matt, good job. Will, talk to you next time.
Peace.
See ya.